So today we're at the Millennium Bridge and we're going over to that building there, which is the Tate Modern. The idea is what we're going to do is take some down in the basement there. It's really dark, so what we're going to do is trade some high ISO shots and see how the camera does at those high ISOs, comparing RAW with JPEG as well. So here we are down in the basement of Tate Modern, an area known as the Boiler House, with these stairs here that are absolutely stunning bit of architecture. These are going to be photographed by a lot of people over the coming years. But also the reason I came down here is because it is very dark. There's no natural light here at all, and down in these areas here it's really dark. It's difficult to let's take the exposure compensation down, and that's actually how dark it is. It's really quite dark and should give the ISO performance a bit of a run for its money. Let's take a look at how the ISOs worked out down in the basement of Tate Modern. Now, I started off with a range of ISOs, taking a shot of this guy who was having to sleep on a bench. So this is ISO 320. If we look at this, it's a reasonably sharp picture, not bad at all for 2 seconds at f7. When we zoom in, we discover that when he was snoring, his head moved backwards and forwards, so we've got some blur around here. But other than that, it's pretty good. Noise-wise, as good as can be expected, really. There's certainly no major noise issues there. If you look at that as a raw file, you can actually see that the raw file captured not very much noise at all, and that should be easy to clean up in Photoshop. The trouble is 2 seconds really too slow for that sort of shot. So let's have a wander down. Tried it at 320, 500. So 0.8 of a second. Now let's see what we're getting, and this is now at ISO 800. And this is the raw file. Loading that. Some noise in there. See this noise here, but I actually like the noise on the Olympus. It almost looks like film grain, especially when you go black and white. It's got a very nice tone to it. I think it works out quite well, the noise, but here we are, and it's a pretty sharp. And the noise on his face in the raw file. If we look at the JPEG for the same ISO, yeah, a lot of that noise is gone, and that's a perfectly acceptable picture. Certainly, if we were to make it black and white, and of course add some clarity, make the blacks blacker, lift the shadows a bit, and put a vignette around it, something like that. Not how much. Make the vignette a bit bigger. Push the exposure up, and it's a reasonable shot. Perfectly acceptable. You can print and get print from that. So ISO 800 working pretty well. We get up to ISO 1000, ISO 1250. Let's have a look at the 1250 now. Now we're getting a certain amount of softness in the raw file. and quite a lot of noise. But still, you're getting a fair amount of noise. But if we look at the relevant JPEG, it cleans up very nicely, and that's a pretty acceptable shot. Looking pretty good to me. What is impressive is when you get up into these 6400s, and let's go to 8000. I mean, 8000 ISO. That's quite an incredible amount of ISO. Look at this as a raw file. Quite noisy, quite snowstormy. But we go to the JPEG. Look in. That's pretty good. That looks reasonably clear. If you took the JPEG and did some extra noise reduction on that, it could work fine. But then we get up into the really high ISOs, things like ISO 10,000. 10,000! Unbelievable. Let's have a look at that. That's, again, pretty low noise for the JPEG. And again, I mean, that's pretty good for ISO 10,000. I wouldn't have thought ISO 10,000 would look that good. We look at the raw file before the camera has had a chance to process it. We get in there, and there's a fair amount of noise in there. So the camera JPEGs are doing a great service. I mean, I'm coming to the conclusion that on this camera, the shooting raw plus JPEG is the way to go, because the JPEGs it produces are so good. In fact, some of these I've tried to clean up in Photoshop, in Lightroom, and not got as good a noise reduction as I do on the JPEGs. So it's clearly knows its own processing and does a good job of it. Now, 16,000 on a JPEG, fairly noisy, but we get a picture. And we're down to 1/25th of a second, so this is not too bad. Quite happy with that. And then we get up to the really ridiculous things down here with the 12800. What's that? 12,800. That's a high number. And 25,600. So let's go up to the absolute maximum. And you do start to get a lot of artifacts up this high, looking quite soft because of the noise reduction in there, and it seems to be okay on the JPEG. I mean, I wouldn't use 25,600 for a print, perhaps, certainly not on this dark. It shows you how dark it is. It was still at 1/100th of a second, even though ISO 25,600, so it was very dark there. But you still come away with a shot. As a raw file, very, very noisy. So I'd probably stick to the JPEGs myself. You could do something arty with this. Let's go make it black and white. Let's lift the shadows up a bit. Clarity. Take the tone curve down a little. Lighten up this area here. And it's reasonable. It's not something I would use all the time, but it's just there, and if you need to get a shot. More realistic examples are probably these ones. These were taken in a slightly lighter area. People moving about, ISO 1280, obviously. Still 1/6 of a second, so that's quite blurry. People moving, but I like these ones. ISO 1280, and you've got people coming out pretty good. I mean, that's nice and sharp. Perfectly acceptable picture. You can post that on the web, no trouble at all. The 1280, pretty good. So works out quite usable. That 1280. the 12800, and I'm quite happy with that. We've managed to get shots here of people moving through the scene. Again, reasonably sharp, and we're using ISO 25600, which gives us, in this brighter area, 1/125th of a second. So, all in all, I make that a win for the Olympus ISO. Being able to go up that high is quite amazing, and I hope you found that of interest. I'll post some of the shots at the end of this video, but please, if you like this stuff, take your time to subscribe to my channel, and hopefully I'll see you next time with some high-res Olympus photos. Thank you very much.